right, welcome back. In case you're just joining us, it's the Money Show, coming to you from the nation's capital, Abuja. Of course, on a daily basis, we'll try as much as possible to analyze business and finance and economy of not just Nigeria, Africa, and the rest of the world. Of course, it's just like a nexus, isn't it? I was taught then in science is a food web, so it's a web, yesterday, the finance minister said that Nigeria is technically in a recession. All the indices aren't looking good. Yesterday, I was just tweeting when I was getting the excerpts from her. I'm like, Nigeria is in a recession. Food prices are up because there's no production and no payment of fertilizers. And I said, Madam Minister, who should do that? We should be monitoring and evaluating all of that. But let's talk about another angle today, the mining industry, the mining sector, and it's been touted that we can make so much money from the mining industry. But if we know we can make so much money from something, why haven't we even tried? So my guest is joining me. Of course, before he joins me, I think we would actually take a break so that I can actually welcome in my guest. Of course, I did say earlier on, Professor Gbenga Okunlola. Let's quickly take a break. We'll be right back.
In the market, so the price went up, so we increased our price too. So the former price, like this bunch, you can get it for 1,000 naira, 800. They were selling it now 1,200.
Now only this in this year that thing you can't happen like that. Now everything the day off now no. Before the fish, big fish do not go past 1,200 naira. Now, if you are not selling 2,000, my money do not come out.
Well, to my best understanding, I'll say everything. Everything can have food stuff. Even apart from food stuff, other things have increased. Like the 2,000 of yam that we normally buy 200. Well, last month, some 300. But this, like yesterday, it was 450.
Well, there's a slight increase in issue of rice. Formerly, they are selling at the price of 14,900, 14,800, yes. But now it's around for 15,001. Some you can get it 15,200 as of now. So there's a little increase in the price. But we are hoping maybe in due course the thing will still come down.
Before you are selling legusi like 70 to 150, that is 75 naira a cup. But right now, the problem there now is, even if you went to market with your money, you cannot even see something to buy. Since something to buy will be high, you will sell something today 15 naira, next tomorrow you will buy it 18 naira. So things are changing. Coming to this groundnut, before groundnut is 30 naira cup, but now it's 17 naira, mood 500. People are suffering the market. If you enter market like this, going with money to market, you are just coming back empty-handed because they are not buying anything.
All right, welcome back. My guest is Professor Gbenga Okunlola. He's the president of Nigerian Mining and Geosciences Society. He's a professor of geology at the University of Ibadan. Prof, good to see you. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Nancy.
How you doing?
How you doing? I'm okay. And you?
I'm well. I'm good.
I'm sure you're not complaining.
I'm complaining. I'm spending more money. I spend more money now for little things, so to speak. The things you used to buy. Let's say you used to spend like 1,000 naira. Yeah. Now I spend like 2,000, 1,800 for that I used to buy for 1,000 naira. Yeah. That's the simplest way I can put it. And the thing is, I am not even making more money. Yeah. That's the issue. Of course, personal finance says diversify your sources of income, diversify your streams of income. We are trying to do that. We've done that. So perhaps that's even why some of us are surviving.
I think that's the wisest thing to do.
Yeah, that's the wise thing to do right now. So, Prof, good to see you.
Thank you.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Where can we start from? Economic hardship, the federal government understands that now. The federal government said that Nigeria is in a difficult time. Yeah. But economically, a lot of analysts have said that we have capacity to do more than we're doing right now. That we have capacity to diversify from oil. We shouldn't even look at oil at all. That we have about 44 minerals that are in commercial quantity that are yet untapped. You're a professor of geology.
Yeah.
You're the president of Nigerian Mine and Geoscience Society.
Yeah.
Is it really true or is being overblown?
It's been underblown.
Oh, it's underblown.
If I may use that English word.
Yes.
Permit me if it's not the correct usage. But it's
We can actually manufacture English too.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Prof.
Because the potentials are even more than what we're thinking about. Maybe we look at where we started from, or we take a little bit of a trip back. Between 1965 and 1975, the solid mineral sector contributed about 12% to the GDP of Nigeria. Don't let's forget that about 3 big cities in Nigeria evolved as a result of mining. Jos practically evolved as a result of mining. Enugu, by 1938, when it became the capital of the eastern region, evolved as a result of mining. And maybe people will not believe it. Port Harcourt evolved before oil as a result of mining. Mining brought the infrastructure for rail in Nigeria.
Yes.
Rail was not just out of the blues. It was to take the mining products from the plateau, from the north to the sea. That was how the Port Harcourt port became very... So it had always been an area Nigeria should have not neglected. So if things are happening now, I think it's a lesson for us to really go back and say, look, where did we miss it? And if we've got that right, then we need now to face it with the correct political will. Some of us believe that the oil, of course, will still contribute a lot to the economy. We cannot pull that away. And of course, I preside over all the workers also, or professionals in the oil and gas sector, just as also in the mining sector. But the truth is this: we have more diversities of resources in the non-oil sector with the mineral resources than the oil sector. People are talking about 44 mineral resources, yes, but we've gone beyond that to say there is a potential mineral resource at your backyard. I'll give you an example. I had a friend who had to, he built his a house, a country home in his village, and he wanted to build a boys' quarters, an outer house. And then he wanted to drill a borehole. And I told him, how many times do you stay here in a year? Maybe 2-3 times. Come during Christmas, during Easter, festivities, 2-3 times. You won't be able to maintain the borehole because you won't be using it. Why don't you get a good place for a well? The well won't give you a problem, get it away from any pollution, and then you have, and then it began, he listened to the advice and it began. And I will use the word, the earth that he was bringing out was good laterite, good building laterite. And then when he was bringing all these things, I said, look, and you're still looking for funds to make bricks, this is a good brick clay. And that is what he used to build his house.
Okay, Prof, I think, sorry, Prof, I think I have to halt you at this point. We are going now for a live broadcast in Port Harcourt, but the program continues. We are going to still talk. So we will be going now to Port Harcourt for a prayer rally for peace and security in Nigeria. But Prof is still with me. We'll continue the discussion. I promise you, today is Friday. I promise you next week we will play back his interview for you to watch. All right, Prof, let's continue.
All right.
Yes, you were saying that you asked your friend to do a well.
So I told him to do a well, and then he brought out this earth material, this lateritic clay, good brick clay. And that's what he used to build his house. That's what he used to build his house, the outer house. A friend also got it. He was building a school also in the village and said, these are good materials. And that is what has formed, he's no more using the brick clay, the mortar brick or the cement bricks, but he's using this. So that's a resource. He had used the money. It's a natural resource that he has used. So it's beyond even just the known 44 minerals. To say, look, there is a potential of a mineral resource at your back. That is how blessed Nigeria is. So the potentials are huge. The potentials are huge. Whether it's metals, metallic resources, whether it's industrial, whether it's the fossil fuels, precious stones. Coal is found in about 16 states in this country. It's not speculation. It's real. Right from the western part, Afuze down to Abia. There. Lignite, the same thing. And we're talking about billions of tons. They've all neglected this. In 19...
are we sure of the quantities? Because since we are not commercially
let me tell you something.
harnessing them, do we know the quantities?
Let me give you an historical background. When people talk about do we know the quantity, do we have the data? Coal mining started in this country in 1916. By 1925, we had produced about 25,000 tons. By the 1970s, we were exporting almost 1 million tons. The rail system in this country was being driven by coal.
Yes.
The energy system in this country was being driven by coal, the Oji River, and then we discovered the diesel. So the issue is this: the quantity is still there, untapped. Gold, let me also tell you something. By 1960, we had exported about 30 tons of gold. 30 tons means about 8 or so million ounces of gold. Even in its crude state, that was a record. But when oil came, all those things were neglected. The western half of the country is geologically what we call very, very highly potential zones for gold occurrence. In around the Lesha area, just a small area of about 1 kilometer square, they've proven about 1 million ounces of gold. And that can be replicated in about 30 places. Now, many of you heard about the Zamfara accident where there was this lead zinc. But of course, that was as a result of crude mining. The gold resources is what they were looking for. But it's even associated with lead, which is another mineral resource, a very rich mineral resource. There are about 15 states in this country that has lead. Many of you have heard about the cement success. I mean, they didn't bring any limestone from anywhere. We have about 17 states in this country where you can get huge tons of limestone. Ogun State from Abeokuta and right to the boundary is sitting on limestones, about 200-kilometer belt of discontinuous lenses. And that is just one commodity. Do you know something? Iron ore. The iron ore in this country, in an area between Okene and Lokoja alone, there are about no less than 6 world-class deposits, bigger than that of what you have in Liberia, bigger than that of what you have in Guinea. So Nigeria has no business even importing steel. So I've just given you a few. The potentials are huge. I've not talked about barytes. I've not talked about gypsum. I've not talked about clay. We import ceramics in this country. The amount of clay deposits and shales that you have in this country for clay can rival that of China. So you can see that the potentials are huge. So it's even been underestimated, so to say.
So it's not overblown.
It's not overblown.
But underestimated.
We have not even, and that's even with a crude state of exploration. Very crude state of exploration yet. Maybe we just don't, I'll give you an example. I think the Nigerian Geological Survey, mapping on 1 to 100,000, have covered only about just 20% of this country, even on mapping. 983 square kilometers. So we have not even discovered 20% of the resource that we have in this country. So it's underestimated. The potentials are huge. Yeah.
So where should I start from? So why haven't we been able to tap into that potential? Because at the beginning I did say, in Nigeria they will be saying, we have potential, we have potential, we have potential. Yeah. Until we begin to walk the talk, isn't it? Until we begin to walk the talk.
Yeah, until we begin, actually I agree with you, until we begin to walk the talk. But I think now the reality is that we have to walk the talk. I was listening to your intro and you said Nigeria is practically in recession. Why? Why would we not be in recession? Are we supposed to be in this recession with the huge potentials that you have? And I've had the president, and I give the credit to him, several times say you have to go back to agriculture or solid minerals because these are also areas where you have but I want to say the ministry now has started with this roadmap. I hope that we...
The Ministry of Solid Minerals?
The Ministry of Solid Minerals, yes.
Is there a roadmap now?
There's a roadmap now that had been launched. I think it's been also publicized, been given to the vice presidents. There was a stakeholders workshop.
Yes,
we invited some of ours and all that. And I think the important thing is for what you want to do in the next 3 months, in the next 6 months, in the next 2 years, and the one for the next 15 years. Of course, they got professionals and we advise them. So it's not something that is so hard to do. It's just for us to have a reorientation. It's for the private sector to have a reorientation. It's for the financial institutions to have a reorientation. It's for the public sector to have a reorientation. We have neglected the public institutions that should form the fulcrum of providing not only the data, at the regulatory and the oversight function, so to say. For example, the Nigerian Geological Survey Agency has been grossly underfunded in the last 30 years. They've not been doing what they... So we need to strengthen the public institutions. We need to strengthen the mines inspectorate offices. People are talking of illegal mining, yes, and there are a lot of it, small-scale mining, but I used to tell people in the 50s and the 60s, when Nigeria was practically relying on mining, were there illegal mining of this scale? No, because the Mines Inspectorate Division was strengthened. You know what we call the Mines Police? They had the logistics. The headquarters were at Lagos, but the field headquarters were where you had this mining taking place. How many vehicles do they have? How many officials do they have? So we need to go back, strengthen the public institutions, and also let it be private sector driven. The private sector needs to be made to understand what the sector is all about. The financial institutions need to understand that this is not like manufacturing, and this is not like trading. It's a knowledge-based industry. We have done it before in this country. But when we all discovered oil, of course, it was easy, and everybody were busy importing everything that should be imported, when we should be exporting.
I will come back to, because I know there are a lot of issues that we need to look at to get the mining sector get to work again, infrastructure, financing, which you talked about, because the mining sector is very capital intensive.
Well, people say it's very capital intensive. It depends on the levels. There are some
but
low-hanging fruits.
At the level we want it to be at, wouldn't it be mining? Wouldn't it be capital intensive?
Mining is at different levels. You have small-scale mining, you have large-scale mining. For example, if I'm going for gold, it's going to be capital intensive, which is okay, and maybe time. But if I want to mine limestone, for example, or quarry limestone, I know where the limestone is. Get a professional to do the survey and all that. I mean, when you can get a good, survey done, and even get up to a proper exploration, final exploration stage for something like limestone, for kaolin, for less than 20 million naira. Yes, if you have your license, and you have your exploration license, and you have your mining lease, and you do a proper geological study, these are not what we call serious or difficult exploration procedures. So you can do that. But then the value addition, of course, getting a cement factory and all that, that's now in the level of manufacturing and value addition. But the exploration and mining, it's not everyone. But if you're talking about tantalite, for example, so the metals, they may be more, you're talking about $5 million, $10 million and all that. But there are low-hanging ones, like you're looking for shales, for ceramics. They are occurring on the surface. All you need to do is to analyze what's the quality, do some drilling, what's the quantity. With less than 50, 40 million, you are right to have a pre-feasibility study that can be, financed by the financial institutions. But there must be a proper knowledge base.
So you're saying even in the mining sector, we have low-hanging fruits
that
the government can take advantage of. But do we have more capital-intensive investments? Because like I did say earlier on, the mining sector can also be capital intensive, except for the low-hanging fruits, which you said.
Yeah.
So perhaps our banks do not even understand the mining business, so to speak.
Exactly. You see, the banks,
that's when you come to financial institutions.
That's true. They won't want to put their money on exploration because of a high-risk factor. Either what's going to be the return on investment and all that. But there's something we call, in mineral economics, what we call economic evaluation. It's very simple. At every stage of evaluation, you can always say, do we continue or do we stop? If I look at what we call the geology, I go around and do what we call the survey or on the surface, and I don't see the rock that should bear the mineral, I will tell you, sorry, even if you have spent ₦1 million, stop it. Don't go further. You won't get anything there. And I can tell you, oh, good, there's a potential, move ahead, spend more 20 million. So at every point, the investor, the private sector will be advised. But that's why I say it's a knowledge industry. It's not for quacks. I know a lot of people now are parading themselves, oh, we can find you this now. It is a knowledge, and you don't need to lose money. You don't need to lose money. And of course, one thing I also let go for Nigeria is that we've had a good law over the years. A good law over the years that is competitive with any other law, a mining law.
The mining law.
The mining law is okay.
So it's still up to date?
It's still up to date. It's just 2007. We've not even practiced it. And some people say, oh, let's change. Don't change your laws, because if you change your laws, you keep the investors away. They want to be here for 50, 60 years. So they want to see consistency. And many of them are watching us now. the big guys, I use the word big guys in the mining, are not yet in because they want to see how consistent you are, how serious you are, how you're serious about your laws. If you say, okay, I'm going to have an exploration license for 3 years, or I'm going to have a mining lease for 20 years, are you serious? Are you not going to change the rule in the middle of a game? So those who will bring in the real big money, whether internally or externally, are waiting to see that the conditions are absolutely right. And it's possible.
Now, Prof, because you're talking about the big guys, so to speak, because I also do know that for the big guys to come into any economy, they must look at the economy that there's macroeconomic stability, and there's also clarity of policy. You did also say earlier that the roadmap for the mining industry has been launched, of course, by Kayode Fayemi. Do you think that there is that clarity of policy?
Yes.
At least from the policy side, or for those of you that are in that sector, is there clarity of policy?
I think there is clarity of policy because we are involved. And that's what I will, in fairness to the governance, I think the professionals were involved, the private sector were involved, the banking, and then even some were involved in really drawing the roadmap. In terms of policy, it is there. But you know, policy is one thing. Execution of a policy is another thing. And that is where we need to focus on. How do we now get these things off the ground? People are waiting for us to now see, look, you've got the policy, you've got the law, you've got the roadmap, you've got your set objectives. Are you now going to pursue that set objectives? And once that clarity is there, and that seriousness is there, investment will come in. Ghana, fortunately for us in West Africa, some of the investments in Ghana are not getting so attractive now. Mines are closing now. I was in Ghana about 2 weeks ago, and Obuasi gold mine is closed because you have to go deeper. So this gives us an advantage. We have green fields, that is places that have not been touched. And there is the potentials are there. And some of them are getting to know it. So we have also now some kind of competitive advantage. Forget about the fact, yes, our economy is in recession and all. I tell people, look, it's not only in Nigeria. I bought pure water sachet. I intentionally bought it in Ghana for 40 naira. Fuel cost 365 naira. In Ghana, Angola inflation is over 25%. Venezuela is and then Brazil and all that. But I'm not saying why should we look at that. But the point is this. We also still have a competitive advantage. We have the size. In Nigeria, we have the size. We have the resources, the potentials of the resources. We have a budding capacity, hidden capacity. What do I mean by hidden capacity? Nigerian universities, we have 34 Nigerian universities producing geology graduates in 34. The last 10 years.
Does it include
34.
Does it include the private universities?
With the private universities, we have about 40.
Okay.
And in the last 5 years, at least 33 had been 10 years had been producing geology graduates.
And what are they doing?
That's the question. That's why I said we have this hidden capacity.
Everybody wants to work in an oil company.
Either in the banks. The oil companies are not even recruiting. How many people with the oil
So you
companies
find them in the banks?
In the banks, riding Keke Marua. Sorry to use that word.
No, it's okay.
Okada and all that in local governments. But they need to be in a place where they can be utilized. So there is a hidden capacity for Nigeria that is ready to blossom. So the environment is right, despite the seeming, and I think even a recessed economy like this provides an opportunity for people to look inward, for us to diversify.
Now, if we want to actually harness the potential that we have in the mining industry, like I did say earlier on, there are a lot of challenges that are inhibiting us right now. Infrastructure, financing. We also need to harness the value chain, because I know that there is a value chain in the mining sector, from acquisition to exploration to what have you. How should we look at the issue of infrastructure, for example, because mining or the minerals are mostly found in the northern part of the country, or they are found in most places now.
You are found everywhere.
So how do we even transport? We don't have a good rail network, railway network in Nigeria. So should we fix all that infrastructure first?
No, you can't.
Can we begin to carry it with a trailer or trucks?
I think, yes, there is an infrastructure deficit.
Deficit, yes.
A huge one, 70%, a huge infrastructure deficit. But, getting infrastructure in place is not a one-day thing. So you have to still also continue to look at both ways. One, we need to get the infrastructure going. We need the roads, we need the rails. Rails, most importantly. When I started, I said, don't forget that even the mining sector brought about the master plan, so to say, original master plan for rail development in Nigeria. So we have to start looking at this. We have to start looking at the roads. But then, will that stop us from harnessing the potentials? Let's take the cement industry. Cement industries are found all over Nigeria. In the north, in Sokoto, in the middle belt, in Benue, in Calabar, in Ogun State, in Anambra, and Kalagua, and all that. You don't have a rail system covering all those places.
Then we have the trailers on the road.
We have the
many trailers on the road.
We have the trailers on the road. But that's what we are now. We need to develop the rail system. And I think, and I looked at the budget, I hope with the situation it can still be implemented. If you have the Lagos Calabar, you have the Lagos Kano, and then some of the interlands, that are done, then things will be better. Well, again, you still cannot say absolutely you won't transport by road. You still have to do some transportation by road. You can't get rail everywhere. For example, look at the Ajaokuta case. By the time Ajaokuta starts to function, and I think it just has to function, if that complex functions, Nigeria will be an industrial country. A country that does not have steel is at the mercy of the other people. And we have no business not having steel because we have all the raw materials, maybe only one. The coking coal, which is
the coking coal, which is used for steel production.
Which is still used for steel
but
production.
I think we have the steaming coal.
Yes, we have, and even the one at Obi Lafayette can be developed. Can be sort of almost a coking variety, but it can be. We can have a mixture of this. But what am I saying? The raw materials for the Ajaokuta, the carbonates, the marbles, the quartzites, and all that will need to be brought to Ajaokuta. You can't get rail, for example, maybe to Lojoro in Ibadan, where you want to get the selimanite, or the boron, to Ajaokuta. You can still do some rural roads, some mining roads. And these are all less than maybe 100 kilometers to the sites of Ajaokuta. The iron ore, there is a rail system now from Itakwe going to Warri, and I think maybe also passing through Ajaokuta or something. I hope I'm right, at least to transport to Alaja, to transport. So if we get this started, it will be an example of what we can do to have both infrastructure development and the mining development going pari passu. And it's important. And I see this happening if we face it in the next 5-10 years. If we really focus on this in the next 5-10 years, we'll be able to harness our resources, and even the infrastructure will have been improved.
Let's go back to financing, because finance has a lot to do with this. How do we begin to get or to be innovative around financing to ensure that we really tap into the mining industry? For example, the Bank of Industry. What should be the role of the Bank of Industry?
I think that the Bank of Industry can finance
I'm tempted to say central bank now, but I'm saying central bank it's under so much pressure. Central bank is even doing beyond what it's supposed to do now, central banking. So the Bank of Industry, so to speak, let me exonerate the CBN at this point, because the CBN here in Nigeria is doing more of developmental banking.
More development. There is a solid, I understand there is a solid minerals development fund, which is a statutory fund or something. And I think part of this is to help with exploration. But beyond, and the Bank of Industry, I have to say, I know they have a desk for solid minerals. I know few mining ventures that they have actually funded. The Kamal Industries in Ilorin, for example, using the iron and steel, and they have a deposit, and some of them like that. I don't want to, I'm not the advocate, so I don't want to, but I think there are one or two that they're doing. But the important is the holistic the financial sector have to understand this sector. That is where it starts from.
Why do you think there's no understanding of the
because
sector?
They have not been involved over the years.
Or is it because it's a complex industry and sector to understand?
No, there's not. It's even simpler than oil and gas. It's simpler than oil and gas. But the point is, it's just the main malaise of neglect, that because everybody had seen the oil and gas sector as the cash cow, and so we've not been creative. Now that I know they have to be creative with the new banking status in Nigeria, I think they can come in. They need to understand. You can fund different phases. This issue of, we cannot fund exploration, we cannot do this, no. Also, I think people need to get into the stock exchange, so to say, where they can get some funds. That's what happens all over. Rio Tinto and all the big ones.
Those are the big
guys.
Those are
big guys. And
BHP
Rio
Tinto.
Exactly. And you see, they're involved in, what do you call it? The stocks, they form major. So that also has to be
big mining stocks.
Big mining stocks
around the world.
Exactly. So we have to now begin to also look at that in Nigeria. And then the banks also now needs to talk to professionals. They have to talk to professionals. What is it all about? You can't stay aloof. You have to have these desks in your financial institutions, manned by professionals that also have ideas about economics. And there's an aspect called economic geology. I operate in that area. But
economic geology,
mineral economics. And also, they need to have this. Now, when we talk about, for example, gold, they need to ask questions. How do we go about even getting from just the raw field to getting the gold out? What is
the process?
The process. What's the cash flow analysis? What's my internal rate of return? What is, my risk factors and all those things, sensitivity analysis. These are also in the mining industry, which they need to harness, which they need to ask questions about. It's not complex. It's like us funding any other, area, but you need the expertise in which, and I think they are thinking in this direction. So government financing has to be there. I won't rule that out. I know the World Bank is also assisting a lot. The Solid Minerals Development Fund, the BOI, of course, they have limitations and the limit in which they can fund, but the bigger financial institutions, and then the multilateral agencies, and then the stock exchange. Through this, I think the mining sector will take off.
Okay, let's take a look at regulation. I will come to the value chain later, because it's not just in agriculture you have value chain. You have value chain also in mining. How necessary is it for us to have a dynamic regulatory environment to attract that investment that we're looking for? You did talk earlier on about the Mining Act of 2007. Some people still think that we need to review that law to reflect the new market realities. But how important is it for us to have a regulatory system that is dynamic?
Well, I think...
Because a lot of even the mining institutions now, you go around and nothing is really happening. They just at the end of the month want to take their salaries and go home. It's not that those people will not want to work, but there's no activity around them.
Have you improved their logistics?
That's what we're talking about.
So it's important. You see, the regulatory bodies, like I said, I don't know, but let me just give an example. I don't think the Mines Inspectorate Division that's supposed to be supervising all the mines and all that and regulating, overseeing and seeing the things. I don't know how many vehicles they have. I don't know what the level of their staffing. Let me give also the example of the Nigerian Geological Survey. In 1985, because I worked in the Geological Survey then from 1983 to about before I entered into the economics. 1985, there are 165 geoscientists in the Nigerian Geological Survey Agency. That's the agency for geology in the whole of Nigeria. Right now, there are about 120, 31 years later. So you can see the decline. So even if they're going to regulate, and you're talking about a country of 900 and plus, 1,000 plus square kilometers, and you need to cover this. Now, I want to say this, and I want to warn, the current law that you have, allow it to operate. Sometimes we Nigerians are too much in a hurry to change. What is the current reality? What is the past reality? This law is modern. When you now start changing your laws and every day, the law is less than how many years now? You have not even practiced it. When you say 2007, I don't think it came into operation. You've not practiced for about 5 years. And apart from that, you have not even tried it. And if you start clamoring, no, I don't agree with that. Because the current reality is that globally, people agree the Nigerian law system is even being copied now by Ghana. The Ghana Geological Survey is now, it was formerly under the Department of what do you call it, Interior or whatever, lands or something in Ghana. Now it's been made an autonomous body. That we have done in Nigeria is about 10 or so years ago. Same thing with Sierra Leone and all that. So others along West Africa are copying our laws. and they are still as stable. The Rio Tinto, the Billy, and all that, they have their own system of coming to a country. They don't come first.
Yes.
They send the junior mining companies. The junior mining companies are gradually coming. They are testing the ground. But if you now begin to change your laws fundamentally, they will withdraw. And that's a very huge blow to investment in the mining industry.
Is there okay.
Yeah, so the law is okay now, but the important thing is how do you enforce the law? Honestly enforce the law, honestly practice the law. Your licensing system, how transparent is it? Is it opaque? Can I apply and I'll be sure that I'm going to get it? If that is done,
what are the processes to even get a mining license?
It's very simple. If you have a place of interest, all you need to do is get a geologist, okay, get the coordinates. What's the latitude, what's the longitude, and then go to the mining cadastre office. Please, is this place open? It's beautiful now. I want to say this, and it's not just happening now. It's been happening before, and I think they're improving it. There's a system. It's digitized. You will just punch in your coordinates, and it will appear even to you straight, whether it is open or not. And if it is open, then you can go and file in your license. Different stages, I think, the prospective license, the exploration license stage, the small-scale mining license, the quarry lease, then the mining lease. So those are the ones that you can apply for. If you want an exploration license, first of all, to start to explore, you have the first 2 years. If after the 2 years you've not done anything, you can now maybe renew for another 2 or 3 years, and then after that you lose it if you don't do anything, so as to avoid speculation. So it's now a little bit transparent. That's why I say it's part of the provision of the law. If you allow this to work and try it, and people outside see that you've practiced this thing for 10, 15 years, and say, oh, look, I can put my money in this place. They are serious people. But
okay, Prof, is there really a huge return on investment in the mining industry compared to the amount put? Because I'm talking about profit now. Profit smiling. You know what I'm talking about. The ROI, is it really, is it worth taking the risk?
Let me tell you something. Even with the present crude level, and I use the word crude level of mining in Nigeria, take the gemstones for example. Do you know the amount of trillions, I'm not using billions, I'm even underestimating, trillions of naira that have changed hands in this country in the last 10 years, that are not even recorded in the government coffers.
Illegal mining.
So to say, in the government coffers. And this guy's putting less than 100,000, 200,000. And if it's properly done, you bring a proper geologist, and it's all over. In the south, in the northeast, in the southwest, in the southeast. And you have the return on investment is huge. Those are even for the small ones. Even for the ones that I said, the low-hanging fruits, the ceramics, the clays, and all that. And you value add. You're talking about the value chain. For example, if I have a good clay deposit, and I mine it out, I can turn it into many products. Wall tiles, insulators for NEPA, like we say, plates, ceramic plates. People talk about China wares, and I tell them, some of us have been to China. I don't think China has more clay than we have in Nigeria. If you lose the enormous amount of shills that you have in the southeast. So we need, and then we turn these things to ceramics of different grades. So the return on investment is huge if it is properly done, if you have proper advice right from the beginning. And you need professionals, you need geologists, you need geoscientists, you need good mining engineers who will be honest and tell you at each stage, this can go on.
Prof, at what level of the value chain should we, is there a way we can concentrate on any level within the value chain? We know within the value chain of the mining sector, you have your acquisition, you have your exploration, you have your resource planning, you have your mine planning, mine operations, and all of that. Is there a way we can, or is there anyone we can harness, or we can do everything together?
For example, let's take the issue
till the sale of the commodity.
Let's take the issue of the gemstones. If I don't want to get into the mining or something of gemstones, I can say, I'm going to buy from you, and I'm going to export it. I was in Munich about 2 years ago, and the hotel where we stayed, the ground floor was a shop. And I went in on the shop, and I saw this raw aquamarine, it's a gem. It got me curious because I know this is Ofiki Aquamarine. That's got from, I can sniff aquamarine or whatever from any part of the country. And I asked the shop owner, where did you get this? I'm interested in this. Oh, I said, oh, wow. I said, you got it from Nigeria. Then he looked at me and said, are you in Nigeria? I said, yes. I said, I can tell you where it came from. And I told him, he said, yes. His friend told me that this was where he brought it from in Nigeria. So you can export. And it's been exported. I don't know whether that's even recorded.
Recorded, yeah.
So you can, at the export value chain, the export end of the value chain, the buying value chain, then even the exploration to look for it. And then you can even, at some point, if you're not even interested, again, your report, which is up to what we call the JOC standard, can even be sold. You can look, sorry, I want to trade this off. I've explored, this is okay, but I don't have finances. I'm not interested in JVs again. Or you can even enter into JV. Then you can go into the production, the value addition. Like I said, ceramics, get somebody to give you the raw materials, and then you fire and process, and you sell the tiles. And then somebody is there at the market selling the tiles.
The tiles.
Yeah.
I know we can go on and on, but at least we've been talking for a few minutes now, Prof. And we'll continue the discussion on a later date, perhaps when next you come. But at least we now have an idea of what we can do and what we should begin to do and stop the talk and start the work and have more contribution to GDP from the mining sector. So many thanks, Prof, for coming.
Thank you, Nancy.
I appreciate you.
Thank
All right,
you.
I've been speaking with Professor Ogbenga Okunlola, the President, Nigerian Mining and Geosciences Society, also a professor of geology at the University of Ibadan. We've been looking at the mining industry in Nigeria. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you, Prof.
Thank you.